The views and opinions expressed on the following show. You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
FM 88.1 WHPR, Highland Park.
WVIE 107.3 FM Charlotte, Amalia, Virgin Islands.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
What's happening, Detroit and everybody else around the USA and abroad? You are tuned in to 88.1 FM WHPR, and this is Black Coffee, no sugar, no cream. And as I've been promoting for the last several weeks, that we would have a new segment, and that segment will be called Love and Logic. And tonight is the first of several series on this topic. I want to introduce to you two people who I think is going to bring a lot of thunder and lightning, not only to the series, but especially tonight. I have in the studio with me my sister, Chelita Robinson-Lucas. Say what's up to everybody, Chelita.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
And also Armand 360. And what's the rest?
Smooth.
Armand, you see how he said that? Armand 360. Smooth. So I want to give you a little background on how this show came about, because you know Black Coffee has been around for a while and we cover a lot of arts and culture, but Chelita made a post, and she made a post about love. And we were talking about, is love a choice? And I decided, like, you know what? That's a show. And so as we started investigating a little bit more and just talking, it was in the atmosphere for this to happen because Armand was thinking about podcasting along these same lines. So we decided to all come together. And so tonight you have the team that created Love and Logic. Our first topic is, does an independent Black woman have a hard time being submissive to a man? I put a poll up on Facebook. We didn't get a lot of responses because it's generally more inviting for people to just click right on the post. And for some reason, Facebook had some difficulty doing that. So I had to stream it through SurveyMonkey, but it came back 60-40. It came back 60% yes, that an independent Black woman does have a hard time being submissive to a man. 40% said no. So we're going to start off our show with our rationale. Chelita, do you believe that an independent black woman has a hard time being submissive to a man?
I do.
Okay, and why is that?
Um, because the ideologies around submissiveness are in stark contrast to the daily lives that these particular women who are uh, labeled strong black women or independent black women. Those ideologies are 360. It's not something they're familiar with.
Hmm. Okay, Armand.
I would say yes. It is incredibly difficult for the independent black woman to submit to the black man. If we take that understanding as the only reason why she would want to be submissive to the black man for the sake of having a relationship, well then now we see the problem. The problem is, how can you be independent but yet you seek to not be independent? You seek to be in a relationship that is, if anything, at the very least, is codependent
Or interdependent.
or interdependent. Yes, you know, we look at husbands and wives, and yes, it's great to say that each person can do some things on their own. Maybe they can have their own jobs or their own goals, or that they do certain chores around the house. They can be self-sufficient, and those are great. Those are wonderful things. But at the same time, that is a symbiotic relationship where you never hear of one person saying, yes, I want to get married just so I can do my own thing. They say, no, I want to get married because I want to grow old with this person. When I get sick and elderly, I want to know that this person can tend to me, and at the same time I tend to them.
I say no. And I also say I do not classify myself as an independent woman. I have skills that allow me to have my independence, but my success, my profession, my degrees, and everything else are separate from who I am as a person. I use those skills for my independence, but I have no problem submitting to the right man. I bring a lot to the table, but I want him to be the legs.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I say no. And I like to operate under interdependence, right?
Mhm.
I think that if both people were independent all the time, there would be a lot of clashing and things going on. I asked my producer, Marquise, we were talking about the topic a little bit while we were just prepping for the show. And Marquise, what did you say?
I said I think it depends not so much on the independent part, but more so of the sister's upbringing. Because like you said, with the table and the legs, you're not gonna rest a expensive vase or a plate of food or whatever on the table with shaky legs. So if a sister has had a male figure in her life and knows what a strong brother looks like, then whether she's independent or not, she's gonna be comfortable being submissive because she knows what it's like. When she needed it the most, she had it. So she knows what that feeling's like. Now, if you didn't have that, now it comes down to a trust issue. Because a lot of sisters, well, let me not say a lot. A few of them are independent because they didn't have a choice to be. Mm-hmm. That's where you get these single mothers that's had to take on the role of independent woman and try to be the substitution for a man in the house. Especially if they have sons. So if they have that figure in their life, then in my experience, they're a lot more willing to be submissive because they're used to it and it's a trust thing that they have for their partner.
So Marquise, you believe that if she's raised in that environment wherein she sees what being submissive looks like, then she has an easier road to her destination.
Right. For the most part.
So,
I know there's some exceptions to everything, but
okay.
if it, like I said, if you have like a father or an uncle or a grandfather, just some sort of example as to what a strong man is, then most women are more willing to submit to a strong man because they know how it feels. They can trust that man. And to me, it's not so much whether they're independent or not, because it's kind of a case-by-case situation in my experience. I can't just say, oh, well, all independent women it's tough because it's a clash of independence. Well, it might be a clash because she don't trust you. And if she doesn't trust you, now why is that?
So here again, we're talking about data-driven information too. Most households now in our community are single parent.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, whatever the result is, it is our reality. So when we think about these ideologies around being strong, Black, and independent, it's a heavy weight. However, it's a mantra that a lot of single Black women have adopted into their language. I won't say not really realizing the adverse effect, but being unaware of the adverse effect of said mantra.
Well, to piggyback off of that, what I find interesting is that even as we speak of the independent Black woman, I believe it was you, Marquise, that kind of dragged in the idea of the single Black mother. And I think that's very interesting that we do that. We make it more complicated than what it really is. Because if we're just talking about just being purely independent, we're just talking about just being self-sufficient for yourself. You know, you take care of yourself, you work for yourself, you provide for yourself, the whole 9 yards. But once we bring in that child element, and I believe you made a statement of the women, they try to substitute for the absence of a man, in particular to raise their sons. And I think that's a very dangerous thing for today's Black woman, because I believe that brings her into adopting a lot of mannerisms that are completely unnecessary. If she's a mother, then
there's no substitute.
She can stay the mother. There is no substitute. A mother is a mother. Now, if she tries to take on all these different attributes that she considers to be masculinity, that in itself may not be true masculinity. It may just be her pantomiming what she believes to be masculinity, and which may very well be very wrong, and may actually impart some very toxic attributes or behaviorisms onto her child.
I agree. We are talking about, does an independent Black woman have a hard time being submissive to a man? And I see Nate Frazier on here from Hearts to Hearts, Bruce Ross, and Jerome Reynolds, 3 brothers that I have shared the platforms with, and feel free to type in the comments. I say that we will intermingle a woman's success, education, and everything else with who she is. For me, like I said, I bring a lot to the table. Master's degree, success, business, and all of that. But those are tools that I use for my independence, because there have been times I've been single and I had to take care of myself. I wasn't going around shopping for a man so I could be submissive so he could take care of me, right? I bring a lot to the table, but I need my man to be the legs. I am an extraordinary woman, so I can't be with an ordinary man. I can't be with a man that wouldn't even understand this about me. And when we talk about submission, let's just get real. You know, this is our first segment, but a man don't want no submissive woman in the bed. He want her to be a little bit more assertive from time to time. I mean, he don't want her to take full control of the situation, but I mean, he don't want her laying there, casket ready.
I can't necessarily say I agree with that, because we have different categories of men. Men are actually surprisingly more complex than even we give ourselves credit for. Personally, I like to refer to alpha men and beta men, and to explain that alpha men, we're pretty much all familiar with alpha males, the guys who seem to be extra aggressive, who exude all this confidence, and we see these men wearing suits and ties, or being really aggressive construction worker type guy. These guys, when we see them, they seem to exude this presence that's almost animalistic, that you pretty much, when you see these guys, you get the feel that they're in charge, or if they're not in charge, they're at least fighting to become in charge. And then you got other men who may exude more feminine qualities. They
more feminine qualities.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't mean that way. I mean they give a softer energy. They give an energy that is more conducive
or
to,
more laid back and not as dominant.
More relaxed, more interested in child rearing, more interested in just peace. And
so explain to me why that would be. So if we're going to intermingle this idea of alpha male and beta male with the idea of the strong Black independent woman, can you help us correlate the concepts? Because at the end of the day, there's so many other labels that go, there's so many other mantras that go with strong, independent Black. And we almost always end up talking about the woman, and we give very little credence to the man. So can you correlate the concepts for us?
Right. Well, basically, we're talking about a relationship. If any relationship is going to have its give and take. So if you have a really masculine man, or really alpha male in this sense, well, he doesn't necessarily want to have this adversarial relationship with his woman. Men have an adversarial relationship with each other every day. We don't want to come back home and have that same battle at home. If it's that same energy, if you get two people just butting heads all the time, all you're going to have is chaos. So no, there is that ebb and flow. If the man is going to be the more aggressive, assertive member of that couple, then he's balanced off with her softness, with her femininity, with her submission or submissiveness. So to that effect, if you got a man like that, he doesn't necessarily want Sex Panther in the bed with him. You know, he may want to be in a more dominant role, such as your Christian Greys from 50 Shades of Grey. You know, that's the kind of image we have. But for the strong, independent, or maybe we should say more assertive Black woman who has that more assertive energy, then maybe she should seek out a man who balances her out as well.
A beta
male. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we've become so conditioned in our society to see beta males as less than, or see them as punks, see them as inferior, see them as less manly, because we've confused what even makes for manly behaviorism.
But then wouldn't the argument be, if I'm a strong Black female, mm-hmm. and I seek out a beta male, then if we're going to stay on topic, would you agree then that she's not searching for submission? She's the queen of her queendom.
Yes.
So she's not looking to submit in the first place.
Oh no, not at all.
Right. So what you have though are these ideologies, right? Mm-hmm. About, I dream a dream. Let's call it that. Let's call it I dream a dream. We're gonna nod our head and we're gonna get what we want. Well, most women that acquiesce to this strong Black female, these ideologies, really want the alpha male.
Yes.
Why? Because she has already been in charge for X amount of time. So she's not seeking the beta male.
No.
She's seeking the alpha male.
Yes.
And that for compatibility. Like I think interdependence is a better term when we look at relationships, because if
Correct.
I look at alpha, beta, okay, I can go with that. But independence versus submissive is almost like battered to me. Like could be very abusive in some cases. I think all of us, whether it's a male or a female, have some independence and some submission. And we may vacillate between the two. That's just part of a personality, right? Sometimes you hold them, sometimes you fold them, right? Like, I'm not going to sit up here and say, like I've said before, my degrees and everything else are tools that I use to be independent. I do not consider myself an independent woman. I bring a lot to the table, but I want my man to be the legs. I don't want to be in a relationship with a man that can't stand strong and do other things. But will I go left? Yes. And I've gone left many times, just to get it right. My attitude may think someone that I'm independent and strong and not submissive because I take a stand on many things, or because of my attitude, I think I would end up being labeled. So if you put my attitude, my success, my education, and everything together and just presented that maybe on a dating site or something, let's just say, I think someone would come across and be like, oh, she's independent. She have a hard time being submissive. And I don't.
Well, but listen to the buzzwords that you use. You said this is your description. My attitude, the way I convey the message is what you said. All of those things are almost polar opposites of this ideology of submission, right? So I think a better conversation would be to describe what submission looks like from a male's perspective, because I think women have it screwed up. I think we might have it wrong. And I think we're not going to even get into the women that say, I'm strong, Black, independent, I don't need a man. Because when you do,
but
because when you say you don't need a man, sis, if you've been in any church or you attend any church, whether it's on Christmas Eve or New Year's or however many times you go, you can go to Genesis at the beginning of the book. And at the beginning of the book, he said that it wasn't good for Adam to dwell alone. And so we were all created at the very beginning to be interdependent. So this idea of being independent is adverse to your goal.
True. Now, we have a comment. We have a comment, and this is from Nate Frazier. He said, it's good for a woman to be independent. That's okay. But don't think you can control the man and don't allow the man to be who he is.
Exactly.
Yes, because a lot of times when women claim to be independent and they say they want a relationship, they don't really want a relationship. What they want is a dictatorship. They want to be able to have the relationship.
I'm glad you said that fast. Like, whoa.
He put the words together. He said
dictatorship. Okay.
So what does submission look like from a male's perspective?
Well, let me put it like this. I mentioned the Christian Grey character from the 50 Shades. And a lot of that has to deal with the whole BDSM community or lifestyle, but mainly the concepts of dominance and submission. In this case, the submissive person trusts the other person to not harm them, to look out for their best interests, to find ways to satisfy them. So the submissive person has relented to
relented? Is
yes,
that an appropriate term? I'm just poking the bear a little bit. Is that a relent? What does relent mean?
They've given up. They've sacrificed. They've
surrendered over.
They surrendered over what some of that energy or that decisiveness, all of those different qualities that that dictate what the flow of the relationship. She's entrusting this other person to look out for her best interests. Now, the thing is, if you feel that the person that you're with is not worthy of doing so, then why would you enter a relationship with this person in the first place?
Fear.
We have other comments, and we're approaching a break. But I want to say, Monica McKay, Polly, how you doing? I miss you too. We have to connect. She said it varies from one person to the next. My cousin, Geraldine Warren, says it's like respect. Submission goes both ways. And I agree with that. Nate came back and said, a lot of black men go to different races because some of them feel that black women are too aggressive. Don't get me wrong, I love me a black woman, a strong woman, but she has to understand how to let me be a man. And I agree with you, Nate. I've seen a lot of black men crossover, and I have talked to them, a few, and they said black women are difficult and white women are not. And so they prefer to date white women because they're not as combative or argumentative or whatever. And I just believe, I don't know about that. That's a whole show within itself. But to stay on topic with this one, I do believe that there is a perception with black men that do believe that if they cross over to another right. But to me, let me just get on down to this before we go to break, and we'll pick it up after break. If your mama beat your ass or was kind of difficult with you when you was growing up as a little boy, or aggressive, and your aunties and big mama and everybody else took control, get some healing before you get in a relationship. I think a lot of times people, when we talked about childhood, men bring imagery from their childhood into relationships, whether your mother was Miss Cleaver or whether she was Medea. I believe the same thing with women. You look for whether your father was a Rolling Stone or whether he was Cliff Huxtable. I think you have to, whatever happened to you as a child that was derogatory, or even some of the good things, you got to put those things in proper perspective before you get into a relationship. I'm not telling you what I think. I'm telling you what I know, because my dad was submissive and my mom was strong. My dad was out of the house by the time I was 9 years old. I learned how to drywall, do paneling. It's nothing that I cannot do. So would it be hard for me to have a man being in a man's place? Not really. But I will say this, it's nothing that I can't do for myself. Now, does that make me not be submissive because I know how to do stuff because of the way that I was raised? I had to put that in proper perspective because I was very strong and I did have the attitude. Not that I don't need a man, because I need a man for a few things. For sex, I need a damn man. I'm just going to put that on the floor. But other things, I don't know. So go ahead, sis, and we're going to go to this break.
I want to go back to some of the buzzwords you use. You said you always talk about that attitude and what you can do. I can do this. I can do that. I can do this. Well, if that's what you're presenting first and you're comparing it with this notion of submission, just imagine how on an unconscious basis, how much energy has to flow, because these are things that you are innately, intrinsically able to do on your own. So that if you're able to do these things as a woman, and I know you are not lying, I know you. So if you're able to do these things on your own, imagine the weight of a man coming in and he's being told up front, well, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And then I'm just going to say, hey, I want you to do it, right? But if you don't do it, I'm going to do it for myself, right? Well, that energy they can feel. So that kind of brings another subtopic, right, about this female quality, feminine wiles, these kind of things, because you are not undifferent than myself. There are a lot of things. I laugh when you said drywall, because I'm quite the little carpenter. I'm very creative. These things but I've acquired these things in my singlehood. Do they have a place in my relationship? with a man. They don't.
Well, I'll put it like this. You mentioned before about your education, your ability to do all these different things that you might ordinarily consider to be masculine tasks or masculine abilities, or just different traits that culminate into your independence. What does that even matter to your relationship with your man? Was any of that a criteria for him to select you to be with, and vice versa? Now you may very well have looked at all those different qualifications he may have had in your judging of whether or not to join this partnership with him. None of that may have been a deciding factor for him. So as far as the health of the relationship, all those things that you mentioned may have no bearing whatsoever. I'll give you a perfect example. A couple of weeks ago, there was this guy, Kevin Samuels. He made this video that went viral because he basically told a woman that it didn't matter how much money she made as a independent, strong black entrepreneur. She said she made over $100,000 a year on her own, and she was trying to leverage that as a reason why a six-figure man should want her. And his response was,
and he lit her ass up. I saw that.
She put a price tag on her own toe.
But wait, what he said was, men like that, men that she was seeking, do not care how much money she was making, because as far as they're concerned, that's her money. Mm-hmm. They have no reason to care about that. So just like yourself, you say you have this education, you say you have all these different qualifications. None of that may actually matter to him.
It doesn't.
He may have just selected you as a suitable partner because of maybe 10,000 other characteristics that you may have that he may not have even formulated words to even express to you, but yet he saw all those virtues in you, and he selected you based off of those other virtues.
I agree. So we're coming to a hard stop right here. So when we come back, we are going to get into your shirts. We're going to read them. But when we come back, we're going to talk about why would Boaz want your ass if you so independent. You have been listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream. This is a new segment that we will be doing the first Monday of every month called Love and Logic. And tonight we are talking about, does an independent Black woman have a hard time being submissive to a man? We have my cousin Millard on the line, and I want to give him a shout out for the wonderful intro that he created for this show. If you ever need good music, good intro, or whatever, please get with my cousin down there with Run of the Mill Music Group. I got it right. You thought I was gonna mess up, didn't you? But he said he down there sizzling, and he wish he could be on this show. And then Monica McKay Polly, she is a very prolific author. She has a lot of books called Icy Kitchen Chronicles and stuff like that. So we might have to have her on one time to talk about some of these relationship topics. Monica, please hit me if you're interested in doing that, because she says she wish she was on here tonight too. So we're going to ease into this break, and we will be right back.
I can't prove myself to you in one night, but just give me a chance. You'll see how genuine I really am.
Even if it's just a dream, was just a thought, it's now my reality. I've been around so many girls, but none of them quite like you. I can see us being together as one. I hope you feel the same way too. I give anything to taste your chocolate kiss, your sweet and tender kiss, those tender lips, to taste your chocolate kiss, your chocolate kiss. And I need my fix. I need your love. Want you so bad I can't resist. I need your love. Nobody's ever made me feel like this. Love. To taste your chocolate kiss. Kiss you, taste your love, you baby.
Hello, and welcome back. You are listening to 88.1 FM if you're in the Detroit area, 107.3 WVIE in the Virgin Islands, and everyone on Facebook and all around the country. This is Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, and this is a new segment called Love and Logic. And tonight we are talking about, does an independent Black woman have a hard time being submissive to a man? We did a poll and it was 60-40. 60% of the people said yes, 40% of them said no. In the first segment, we talked about whether or not a woman could be submissive to a man or not. But now I want to go to Armand, and I want to know your definition of submissive.
Look, as we mentioned before, for me as a man, I see submission as trusting me to care for you, to be the person who has your back, who does work earnestly to provide, to protect, and to cover you, to have faith and trust in me that I will ultimately make sound and well-seasoned decisions for the welfare of the both of us. Because as a man, I realize that is a huge sacrifice on the part of the woman. It's a lot to trust somebody that intimately, so much so that you will say, yes, I will have faith and put my life in your hands. Because that's what a woman does when she enters a relationship like this. She is putting her life in this man's hand. And now he has to be the custodian of both himself and her. And to that effect, yes, it is some give and take, because by him taking on that responsibility, he takes on that burden, but at the same time, it frees her up to engage her more feminine attributes of observation and be able to give him that counsel that he may very much need to balance off that masculine energy we were talking about before. Because men, we have this adversarial relationship with each other and the world. So, but when we come home or we come to this woman, she offsets that energy. And because she has that feminine energy, she is privy to things that we just don't observe because we get that tunnel vision. We get so focused on the protecting and the providing and the covering that it creates its own version of tunnel vision. So her vision that comes from not being obstructed with all those other things, it becomes just immeasurable.
And what does that look like when you say feminine qualities? What does that look like for you from a male perspective when she's not obstructed? When she's not obstructed by the weight of the world, she's not obstructed by the worries of being provided for, protected, and covered. What does that feminine quality look like? What is that? How does that operate within this symbiotic situation?
Well, women's greatest strength has always been the ability to influence. She can influence this man in maybe 10,000 verbal and non-verbal ways. She can look at a man and literally change his entire disposition just from a glance. She just from one of her words, the tone of her voice. It's so subtle, such as the same relationship that a man has with his mother. And even as I think about that, men tell their sons, son, when you grow up, find a woman like your mother.
Even if she whooped your ass?
Even so, because the mother is the first woman that a son learns how to love. The mother teaches her son what love is, what it looks like, and what the love of a woman looks like.
Yes, I agree. The same with the father.
And that's why I said before, it's very dangerous when we make those comments about women having to step up and be the man in the relationship.
Or the substitute
for the man, because all that winds up happening is now this woman takes on all these masculine behaviorisms, and now that's what she teaches her son as what feminine love looks like. So now when this boy grows up into a man, he may not even know how to respond to a truly feminine woman, because what he's responding to, what he's learned to respond to
is
the same argumentative, adversarial behaviorisms that men share with other men.
I agree. We have some comments here. First of all, they said, are you two married? And if so, how many years? No, they're not.
Well, we're not.
They're not married. That came from Monica, and Denise Walker is on here, and she said yes, she agrees, and she's married. But I would consider Denise the same definition as you and I, Chelita. You know, just having a lot of independent characteristics and tools and skills. Miller said, yes, sir, preach. So that's good. So here's the thing, the definition, and that's one thing that I got out of our conversations when we were prepping for this show, and we'll get beyond today, is an understanding. Because that word submission, I would have never described it the way you just did. If someone says, can you submit to a man, and you explain it the way that you just explained it, no problem. But I believe it was so eloquently put and very true, because a strong woman doesn't want to be strong. I'm telling you, I have a mental health condition, anxiety, and it kicks in, not because I'm weak, because I've been strong too long, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, and all of these other things. I'm not trying to do all of that. I'm glad I'm capable and I can, but that's not what I set out to do. And I definitely will not do it in a relationship, right?
But do you know why it's uncomfortable? Because it was never a requirement for you in the beginning. Strong was never a requirement for us.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. It was a requirement for them.
Mm-hmm.
So when we use words like strong, we're already disjointed. when we use words like independence, my mother taught me that whatever I say, there I go. So if I say independent and strong, then I've placed myself in an adversarial position to begin with, because it was never a requirement to begin with. He said something very important. He said, provide, protect, and cover.
That's right.
Then he described what his needs were when he came back home from being out there in all of those adversarial environments, trying to provide, protect, and cover. And he said he really needs to just come home and lay those burdens down. And the one thing that I can do as a woman is use my feminine wiles to disarm him.
Mm-hmm. We have some comments here. Monica said, why aren't you married? Because they're friends. They just look like a married couple, I guess, to our audience. And we have from Denise, so true. She doesn't want to be strong all the time. She wants to be treated like a queen. And the man wants to be treated like a king. And I agree with that. And I don't have a problem doing that for a man that you described. That man that you described, no problem at all. And that's what I have in my relationship. No problem. You know, to the degree, like I've said before, and I'll say again, he gets off work 3:00 in the morning and he tell me he wants some chitlins. I can't stand cleaning them. I can't stand cooking them or none of that. But because of how he looks out for me and makes sacrifices for me and does things that I know he doesn't really want to do, but he does them to make me happy, I'm going to get up and get to peeling and cooking. And I believe but that's just me and how I choose to do things. And I do believe that relationships, we have to make sacrifices. It can't always be what you want and never what the other person wants. So
Absolutely.
Your shirt, I'm sorry, go ahead, Chelita.
Here's another thing. I think when women talk about submission, we speak of it from an action perspective. They speak of it from an aura perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. You said get up, clean, cook, make chitlins, these kind of things. So in our heads, we sort of see submission as the things that we're going to do physical. And to some degree, what he's saying is the act of submission is almost like elementary. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's almost like an ingredient. It's almost like an elixir. It might not be about the chitlins. It could be, come on, let me just rub your hair. Or if not just rub your hair, tell me about your day. Mm-hmm. Those kind of things. I think for us women, we see it as, here's the things that we're going to do that we wouldn't normally do. But because I'm submitting, this is what it is. This is me submitting. And so it goes back to that whole thing about feminine wiles and that whole element. And he's chomping to say something, so I'm gonna let him say it.
What I think it comes down to is, I think a lot of times women have a very, very unrealistic expectation of the way they want men to engage them. We may have similar needs, but we don't think the same. So in this instance, when I mentioned that men have this adversarial relationship with each other and the outside world, well, when we come back home, we still have that aggression in us, and we may not be in the same mind frame to speak to our women the same way she would, be most receptive to us speaking to her in. We're still in that mindset of speaking the ways that we are when we're out in the outside world. And I think that's where that balance comes in with the submission, because it has to be that notion that, yes, I may come home with this aggressive tone. I may not speak in soft and loving ways, but knowing that as the woman, as you engage me, you become the one that actually softens me up. You soften me up, because now, as opposed to the situation where I've, as the dominant person, have created an environment of safety for you, you in turn create an environment of safety for me.
Interdependency.
Yes. Well, we knew this was going to happen. We knew our time would go by really fast. Armand, what does your shirt say?
It says, I can love Black women without always agreeing with them.
Great. And Chelita, what does your shirt say?
What does my shirt say?
Your shirt says, why would Boaz want your ass?
So you have it, folks. That will be the topic of our next Love and Logic, which will be the first Monday in February. Why would Boaz want your ass? We have a couple of more comments that were really good. Millard said, all women think that if you ask for a drink of water, the woman will say, what's wrong with your legs? Get it yourself. LOL. and that I have said before until I learned. Also, Denise says she's learning tonight, but she not getting up cooking no chitlins. And Denise also said, you two have explained this so correctly. Thank you so much for the advice and the information on how to balance. You're welcome. I love you so much, Denise, Monica, Millard, everyone for tuning in. We are out of time and we are getting ready to go. Any parting words for you two?
No, just come tune in first Monday in February, because we do want to know why Boaz wants your ass.
And also, for 2021, let's break away from this adversarial relationship between men and women. We in this together.
Yes. So look for more coming from Love and Logic. And if you have any topics or show ideas, please send them in. Follow us on the Black Coffee Facebook page at The Real Black Coffee Detroit. These videos will also be posted on the Real Black Coffee YouTube channel. So tell a friend, like and subscribe. We're going to have so much more to talk about. But next month is going to be, why does Boaz want your ass? You have been listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream. Thank you, Chelita. Thank you, Armand. I love you both. Really appreciate you. This is a show where I don't try to spill the tea or make you feel dazed like you drank a shot of cheap liquor. I just want you to see things from a different perspective, mine. And we're out of here. Have a wonderful week. So long.